This section of the textbook deals with the movement of substances across the cell membrane, whether it's moving into the cell or out of the cell. There are two main mechanisms, passive and active, and this video deals only with the passive mechanisms. Passive means that no energy is required from the cell. 4 different types of passive movement: diffusion, often called simple diffusion, facilitated diffusion, osmosis, and filtration. Please take good notes on this section. Diffusion is often defined as the movement of molecules from an area of greater concentration to an area of lesser concentration. You can see here that over time, as this Kool-Aid dissolves in the water, the Kool-Aid would be evenly distributed throughout the water until equilibrium is reached. Here we have a beaker with a permeable membrane. This permeable membrane is analogous to the cell membrane. On the left-hand side is a beaker with solute molecules in the water. In this case, solute might be glucose. Water is throughout the beaker. Solute is on one side of the membrane. Over time, that glucose molecule will passively spread throughout the solvent. We can see the same taking place in the body, in the tissues. As the capillaries bring the oxygen to the tissues, oxygen will diffuse from an area of high concentration in the capillary to an area of low concentration in the tissues. The same will take place with carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is produced in the tissues, therefore it is in high concentration, and it will flow passively into the capillary. Facilitated diffusion is quite like diffusion in that molecules move from higher concentration to lower concentration. Facilitated requires a protein carrier. You can see the solute being transported here. It might be glucose. It enters the protein carrier. The protein carrier changes shape, and the substance is transported into the cell. This does not require any cell energy. Osmosis is a different topic in that it's the diffusion of water. And in this case, we're looking at water moving from an area of greater water concentration, where there's less solute, across the membrane to an area of lower water concentration, where there's more solute. So let's give an example of this. On the left, you see more solute. In this case, the solute is a protein, therefore less water. On the right, we see less solute, therefore more water. Water will flow from more water to less water, or you could think of it as water flowing from low solute to greater solute. In chemistry, there's a phrase, water follows salt. That is, water flows from a low salt concentration or solute concentration to a higher salt concentration or solute concentration. In this case, the flow of water actually reduces the level of the water in the beaker. Osmotic pressure is the ability of osmosis to lift a volume of water. Now, in the body, we talk about 3 different types of concentrations: isotonic, hypertonic, and hypotonic. Remember that iso means the same, hyper is greater, and hypo is lesser. So here they're talking about the solution of the amount of solute. So a hypertonic solution has a large amount of solute. A hypotonic solution has a low amount of solute. On the upper left is a red blood cell in an isotonic solution. That is a red blood cell in blood. The amount of solutes on both sides of this cell membrane are the same, and water does not flow in either direction too much, so that we have a disequilibrium. On the lower picture, a red blood cell has been placed into a hypotonic solution. Your typical hypotonic solution would be distilled water. That is, it's very low in solute. There's no glucose or amino acids in it. That means it's very, very high in water. Water is going to flow into the cell, causing this rounded appearance. On the right-hand side is a red blood cell that has been placed in a hypertonic solution, perhaps a salt water solution. In this case, the water is going to leave the cell and cause this crenellated appearance. Filtration is the last method of passive movement across the cell membrane. Think of filtration as an espresso machine where water is forced through the coffee grounds. Blood pressure is hydrostatic pressure in the body, and it forces the substances in the blood out between the cells that make up the capillary membrane.